Welcome to True Echo, where silence is shattered by truth, and dignity is never negotiable. Today's story begins in an upscale spa where elegance hides entitlement, and prejudice wears the mask of protocol. When a black woman walks in for a moment of peace, she's instead greeted by suspicion, humiliation, and public shame. But what they don't know. She's not just any client, she owns more than they could ever imagine. Stay with us to see how the tables turn in the most powerful way. The Horizon Wellness Spa shimmered like a promise of perfection, floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors, the scent of lavender diffused through air more expensive than most people's rent. It was where the elite came to escape themselves. Where judgments were dressed in silk robes and microaggressions floated through eucalyptus steam. Clara Williams stepped into this haven of luxury like a woman who belonged. Not with arrogance. With certainty. Her tailored cream suit skimmed her frame flawlessly, her gold jewelry catching the warm glow of recessed lighting. She was 40, composed, and carried herself like someone who'd stopped explaining herself years ago. She was here alone, for a treatment she didn't need, but wanted to experience for herself. A potential business partnership with the spa's parent company hung in the balance, and Clara never signed anything she hadn't seen up close. The receptionist looked up. White. Mid-20s. Bleach blonde hair slicked into a severe bun. The kind of pretty that relied on attitude to do the heavy lifting. The flicker in her eyes came fast, then vanished. But Clara saw it. She always saw it. "Good afternoon," the woman said, her tone stiff. "Booking confirmation." Clara already had her phone ready, QR code glowing. She handed it over with quiet poise. As the receptionist squinted at the screen like it might contain a hidden code of danger, two white women breezed in behind Clara, leggings, ponytails, no appointments pulled up. Yet they received instant smiles, laughter, and a wave toward cucumber water without showing so much as a phone screen. Clara didn't flinch. The receptionist returned to her, expression strained. "An ID, please." Clara's brow lifted just a fraction. "For security purposes." "Yes, ma'am." "Standard protocol." "Of course." Her tone was even. But her eyes flicked pointedly toward the two women already sipping from crystal glasses without protocol in sight. Still, she handed over her driver's license. Let them dig their own grave. The receptionist took too long. Made it awkward. Then finally typed. "You'll be escorted shortly." Clara stood still, hands folded, watching the lobby dance around her in avoidance. Then Mira arrived. Late 20s, Indian, soft-spoken but efficient. "Ms. Williams, I'll be assisting you today. Please follow me." Clara walked, measured and silent, through glass corridors of wealth and exclusion. She knew this game. Knew it in airports. In boutiques. In business meetings where her net worth didn't match their assumptions. The spa room was dim, calming, tranquil. "Please make yourself comfortable," Mira offered. Clara sat, folding her legs at the ankle, back straight. Minutes passed in silence. Then Mira spoke quietly. "I'm sorry about earlier. It's not always. Isn't it?" Clara said softly, not looking at her. Her voice wasn't cruel, just weary. Mira didn't respond. But her silence said everything. Then, like a match to dry paper, chaos lit the hallway outside. The shouts came muffled at first, a woman's voice, sharp with panic. "My bag. My wallet's gone. I swear it was right here." Clara and Mira turned toward the door as it creaked open. A young staff member poked her head in, face pinched with tension. "You might want to come out here," she said to Mira. But her eyes flicked quickly, and accusingly, to Clara. Clara rose without a word. Her heels clicked softly along the spa floor as she followed Mira back to the lobby. The air felt different now, not serene but charged, vibrating with assumption. The woman claiming her wallet had vanished was mid-50s, wrapped in a designer wrap, clutching her Louis Vuitton bag as if it had betrayed her. Her tone was shrill, trembling just enough to invite empathy. "I put it right here on the lounge chair. I was only gone a second." Other clients murmured, their eyes darting, not to the floor, not to the furniture, but to Clara. The receptionist stood behind the counter like a statue. And then, almost as if she'd been waiting for the cue, she said, "We'll review the situation, ma'am." "Of course. It's just, aside from our regular guests, there's only one new visitor today." The words were carefully chosen. But everyone heard the message loud and clear. The spa manager entered next. Tall. Broad. A polished smirk barely disguised under professional concern. He cut through the tension like a blade, but his eyes went straight to Clara. "I'm going to need to check your bag," he said, voice flat. Mira flinched. "We don't search guests' bags," she offered weakly. "Not the others. Not ever." "It's a unique situation," he replied, dismissing her like an afterthought. Clara looked at him calmly. There was no panic, no raised voice. Just the steady weight of someone who'd been here before. Too many times. She held out her purse without protest, and he snatched it with authority, as though the act alone confirmed his suspicion. He dumped it. Everything spilled onto the floor. Lipstick. A Cartier pen. Business cards. Car keys. Wallet. Phone. A silk scarf. Nothing remotely resembling the missing item. Not a word. Clara bent slowly, gathering her belongings with measured grace. She didn't rush, didn't blink. And as she rose, she looked the manager in the eye and said, low and clear. "You won't find what you're looking for. The only thing that went missing here today, is your dignity." Silence. The woman who'd lost her wallet shifted uncomfortably. A few customers dropped their gazes. But no one spoke. Clara reached into her purse and took out her phone. Her fingers moved like a slow, deliberate clock. She made a call. "It's me," she said into the phone. "I'm at the spa. I need you here. Now." The manager folded his arms, smug. "You can call whoever you like. No one's going to clean this up for you." Clara didn't look at him. She ended the call, slipped the phone back into her bag, and stood still. Then the front doors opened. The glass doors parted with a soft whoosh, and the air in the spa shifted instantly. A tall figure strode in, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, dark gray, understated, powerful. Their presence swallowed the room's remaining confidence. The spa manager's smugness evaporated like steam. Clara turned slightly but didn't speak. The CEO of the spa's parent company, and Clara's potential business partner, scanned the room. Their eyes landed on Clara, and everything in their face changed. Shock, recognition, then dread. "Clara," they said, voice thin with surprise. "I didn't know you were here already." The spa manager frowned. You know her." Clara's response was cool, controlled. "We had a meeting scheduled today. I decided to experience your service firsthand before finalizing anything." A silence fell so heavy it might have shattered the marble beneath them. The CEO's eyes darted between Clara, the manager, the receptionist, and the belongings still scattered on the floor. The dots connected quickly. Too quickly. What happened here?" the CEO stammered. Clara didn't respond. She didn't need to. The spa manager shifted uncomfortably. The receptionist stared at her keyboard like it could save her. The older woman who'd cried theft looked pale now, slowly retreating from the drama she had helped ignite. Clara finally spoke, voice low and sharp as cut crystal. "You should check the footage." The CEO didn't hesitate. "Absolutely." The manager froze. "That's not necessary, I think we can." "Now," the CEO ordered. Defeated, the manager moved behind the desk, guiding the receptionist to pull up the security footage. The tension in the room twisted itself into knots. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the soft ambient music seemed to hold its breath. Click. 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 And then the truth. On screen, the older woman was seen setting her bag beside a lounge chair. She talked on the phone, laughed, fidgeted. Her wallet, a red Chanel piece, slipped out of the open bag and slid into the crevice of the chair. Unnoticed. Then came Clara. Sitting nearby. Not touching. Not even looking toward the bag. The woman eventually left. No theft. No foul play. Just carelessness. Just assumptions. Just racism. The room stayed frozen. The silence wasn't just awkward, it was seismic. The CEO turned slowly toward the spa manager. Their face was pale with realization and horror. You accused a guest, a partner, without checking a single fact, they said, voice trembling now, but not from fear. From rage. Do you even understand what you've done? The manager opened his mouth, then closed it. Nothing would save him now. Clara bent down, slowly gathering the last of her belongings. She took her time, as if letting every second of discomfort wash over the staff who had humiliated her. Finally, she stood. I think we've seen enough, she said softly. The CEO looked desperate. Clara, please, this was an isolated. She raised a hand, stopping them cold. You don't need to explain. But you do need to understand. If this is how your team treats guests, especially guests who don't fit your aesthetic, then I have no interest in associating with your brand. The words hit like a blade. She turned slightly and looked toward Mira, who stood a few feet away, eyes wide but resolute. Clara reached into her purse and pulled out a sleek black business card. She extended it. If you ever want to work somewhere that values you, actually values you, call me. Mira took the card with trembling hands. But her expression was steady. Clara turned, heels clicking across the now silent marble floor. No one dared stop her. And just before she exited, a girl in the corner, no older than 22, lifted her phone just enough. The red recording dot blinked softly. The moment had already gone viral. The moment Clara stepped onto the sidewalk, the city greeted her with the warm buzz of afternoon traffic and distant chatter. But behind her, the silence left in the spa was suffocating. She didn't look back. Not once. She slipped her phone from her purse. It was already buzzing. Notifications. Mentions. Shares. Someone had posted the video. And it was spreading like wildfire. By the time she reached her black SUV, her assistant had already called twice. She declined the first. Answered the second. It's live, her assistant said breathlessly. Someone filmed everything. Twitter, Instagram, even LinkedIn. It's everywhere. And Clara, people are furious. Clara said nothing. She didn't need to. By the time she arrived at her office, the energy had shifted. Her staff stood a little taller. Not because they were afraid, but because they were inspired. Dignity walked with her, and today, it marched. Her assistant was waiting at the elevator, tablet in hand. You should see this. Headlines blazed across the screen. Black executive publicly humiliated at luxury spa, then reveals her true identity. Discrimination in a designer robe, spa chain faces backlash after racial profiling goes viral. She came for a massage, left with the industry's attention. Clara nodded once, silent approval. Have legal and PR ready. We're drafting a formal response. Inside her conference room, the screens were lit up with media coverage. Hashtags trended globally. Hashtag justice for Clara. Hashtag we stand with her. True elegance. The public had chosen a side, and it wasn't the spa's. 3 missed calls from the spa chain CEO. 1 voicemail, rattled apologies, promises to make this right. Clara didn't respond. Instead, she typed out a single message and forwarded it to her legal team. Subject: termination of all business discussions. Effective immediately, all partnership negotiations with spa company name are formally terminated. No further communication is warranted. Clara Williams. The message was cold. Precise. Non-negotiable. She hit send without hesitation. Because today wasn't about revenge. It was about principle. That evening, with the sun bleeding gold across the city skyline, Clara sat alone in her office, staring through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The same city that once doubted her now paused to listen. And then came the knock. Her assistant opened the door just enough to peek in. "There's someone here to see you. Her name is Mira." Clara blinked, surprised. "Send her in." Moments later, Mira entered, still in her work uniform, but without the fear that had hovered around her earlier. She clutched the card Clara had given her like a lifeline. "I wasn't sure you meant it," she said, eyes sincere. "But I couldn't go back there. Not after what happened to you. Not after how many times I let it happen to me." Clara gestured to the seat across from her. "Sit." Mira obeyed. "I meant every word," Clara said. "I don't hand out opportunities. I create them, for people who know what it costs to stay silent." She pulled a folder from her desk and slid it across. Inside, Mira found an offer letter. Position: Distribution Branch Manager. Salary: more than she'd ever made. Respect, written between every line. Mira's hands trembled slightly. "You'd really trust me with this?" Clara didn't flinch. "I trust integrity. I trust the people who speak up when it matters. That's leadership." For a beat, they sat in quiet understanding. Then Mira nodded. "I won't let you down." Clara smiled faintly. "I wouldn't have offered if I thought you would." Behind them, the screens flickered with headlines and videos. But neither of them looked. Because something bigger was happening now, not just to Clara, not just to Mira, but to every silent witness who realized today, they didn't have to stay quiet anymore. By morning, the story had reached critical mass. News anchors debated it on national television. Think pieces popped up across every platform. Brands issued statements condemning racial profiling. Influencers reposted the footage with outrage, others with tears. Clara Williams had become more than a name, she had become a symbol. But inside Clara's sleek, minimalist office high above the city, she remained calm. She never sought the spotlight. She sought truth. And now that it had broken through the cracks, she would let it do the work she no longer had to. Her assistant entered, holding a fresh report. "The spa's bookings have dropped by 63% overnight. 3 corporate partners pulled out. Investors are panicking." Clara didn't even look up. "And the statement?" Her assistant nodded. "They released it at 9 a.m. sharp. Apologies. Regret. Promises to reevaluate training and internal procedures. The usual." Clara finally turned toward the screen. The spa CEO was featured on several news outlets, eyes sunken, words desperate. "We regret the experience Ms. Williams had at our location. It does not reflect our values." Clara muted the clip before the hypocrisy could fully finish leaving his mouth. Too late. Reputation isn't managed through press releases. It's built, or broken, through decisions. Mira entered the office just then, not as a visitor now, but as a leader. Her posture was straighter. Her presence sharper. In the span of 24 hours, the girl who once apologized for others' bias was now overseeing an entire distribution channel under Clara's brand. I met with the operations team, Mira said. They're good, but nervous. I want to lead from the front, not just manage from the back. Clara nodded with approval. Then do it. There was no long speech. No drawn-out mentorship lesson. Just belief. And for Mira, that was more powerful than any title. Later that afternoon, Clara stood before a podium inside a glass-walled conference room filled with press, investors, and business leaders. Flashbulbs burst. Reporters leaned forward. But Clara wasn't here to fan the flames. She was here to redirect the fire. I've been asked if I intend to sue, she began, her voice calm but clear. If I want to dismantle the spa chain, seek compensation, demand punishment. She paused. The answer is no. A murmur moved through the room. This isn't about one spa. Or one ignorant manager. Or one receptionist whose smile disappears when your skin doesn't match the decor. Her gaze swept across the crowd. This is about the system. The expectation that people like me remain polite while being humiliated. The silence we're expected to swallow. The grace we're forced to perform, even as our dignity is dumped out onto marble floors. Now they were really listening. I've built my brand on one core belief: respect is not earned by titles. It is deserved by existence. Click. 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 Cameras flashed like strobe lights. And I refuse to align with companies that only value diversity in brochures, not boardrooms. You don't need to worry about what I'll do next. She leaned into the mic. Worry about what comes after me. The applause started small. Then grew. Then roared. Not for the scandal. For the truth. Outside, on the street below, the video continued spreading like wildfire. The spa's Yelp page became a battlefield of reviews, mostly from people who had never visited, but had seen enough. But Clara wasn't watching. She was already 5 steps ahead. As the press conference ended and the cameras dimmed, Clara quietly exited through the back corridor of the conference center, avoiding the lingering swarm of reporters hungry for another quote. She didn't need to feed the machine. She had already shifted its gears. Outside, the air was cooler than the day before. Or maybe that was just clarity settling in. She rode the elevator up to her office, her heels clicking softly against polished stone. Through the expansive windows, the skyline looked calmer, but below, the spa's headquarters were caught in a corporate storm. Her assistant waited just inside, holding another update. The board of the spa company is in an emergency session. The manager and the receptionist have both been suspended, pending internal review. Their CEO's trying to hold the line, but investors are pulling millions. Clara took the folder, glanced at it briefly, then closed it without comment. It won't be the last time this happens, she said. But it might be the last time it happens without consequence. She crossed the floor to her executive suite, but paused at the glass railing to look down into the open-floor office. Mira stood below, gathered around a new team, confidently presenting a rollout strategy. Clara smiled faintly. The same woman who had once whispered apologies now stood with her shoulders squared, her words clear and firm. She wasn't invisible anymore. And she wasn't alone. Clara returned to her desk and turned on the screen. Dozens of emails flooded in, partnership offers, interview requests, even messages from civil rights groups wanting to highlight her story. She skimmed through them, then stopped at one. A letter from a 19-year-old spa intern. Anonymous. I saw what they did to you. And I've seen it done to others. Thank you for not staying quiet. I didn't know it was okay to speak up. Now I do. Clara sat back in her chair, letting those words wash over her. Not praise. Not admiration. Impact. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from a corporate diversity board she had declined years ago due to its performative leadership. We're reevaluating our strategy and need guidance. Would you consider leading the initiative? She didn't respond. Instead, she stood, opened her personal drawer, and pulled out a thin leather-bound notebook. She flipped through the handwritten notes. Names of women she'd mentored. Notes from past boardrooms. Sketches of campaigns never launched. She flipped to the last page. And wrote one word. More. Because there had to be more than damage control. More than apologies after the fact. More than teaching companies how not to humiliate people like her. There had to be real investment. Real elevation. Real systems built by those who'd once been ignored inside them. Outside her office, Mira knocked lightly on the glass. Clara waved her in. You settling in? Clara asked. I am, Mira said. Actually, better than that. Clara gestured for her to sit. You were right, Mira said softly. When everyone was looking away, I kept thinking it was safer to shrink. But the moment you looked that manager in the eye and said, you won't find what you're looking for, I felt it. Like, dignity doesn't come from how quiet you are. It comes from how loud your silence is. Clara studied her a moment. And now? Mira smiled. Now I'm not afraid of being seen. A long pause passed between them. Clara reached for a second folder, opened it, and slid it across the table. A new initiative. A mentorship program for rising leaders of color in wellness and luxury industries. Clara's voice was low, but clear. I want you to run this. Mira's eyes widened. You're serious? Clara nodded. You're not just here to lead. You're here to create the spaces that didn't exist for people like us. Outside, the world continued spinning, but inside this office, a new one had just begun. The sun dipped behind the skyline, painting golden edges on the towering glass structures of the city. Inside Clara's office, the glow bathed everything in a quiet, honeyed light, the calm after the storm. But for Clara, this wasn't the end. It was just the echo of a beginning. She stood near the tall windows, sipping from a crystal glass of still water, watching as the city lights blinked on one by one. Behind her, the soft murmur of her staff carried on, phones ringing, keyboards tapping, conversations full of purpose, not panic. Her assistant entered without knocking, tablet in hand. It's official. The spa's parent company issued a second apology. Full-page ads. Every major outlet. Clara raised an eyebrow but didn't turn around. They've pledged to overhaul staff training, add diversity leadership, and issue refunds to all guests involved. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. That's what desperation looks like dressed as integrity, she murmured. Her phone buzzed on her desk. It was her lawyer. She ignored it. Across the office, Mira sat with her new team, sketching the foundations of the mentorship initiative Clara had tasked her with. Young professionals of all backgrounds gathered around, black, brown, queer, first-gen, some nervously asking questions, others simply observing Mira with admiration. Clara watched from a distance, remembering when she herself had been the only one in a room like that. Overqualified, underestimated, invisible. Until she decided never again. A staff member peeked in through the door. Ms. Williams? The news channel's requesting a final comment before their 8 p.m. segment. They want to know if you'd like to go on air. Clara didn't hesitate. No. Should I prepare a statement? No, Clara repeated. Let the story speak. Because it already had. That night, as the world kept reposting the video, from TikTok breakdowns to corporate forums dissecting bias in customer service, Clara remained exactly where she had always been, above the noise, beneath the truth. The clip that had gone viral ended with her words. You won't find what you're looking for. The only thing that went missing here today is your dignity. It was stitched, remixed, quoted in captions, turned into a slogan for dignity and defiance. But Clara never reposted it. Never commented. Instead, she focused on hiring, promoting, creating scholarships, funding silent brilliance, building infrastructure where no one would ever have to unzip their dignity for proof of innocence. The spa chain tried to recover, but the market had moved on. Their name had become a warning, not a destination. Months later, as Clara stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for a new wellness center funded through her foundation, she spotted Mira in the crowd. Dressed professionally, clipboard in hand, directing volunteers and coordinating press with effortless confidence. They locked eyes across the lawn. No words needed. Just a nod. Because power didn't always announce itself in boardrooms. Sometimes, it reclaimed itself in public silence, and then rebuilt behind the scenes. As the cameras flashed and the ribbon fell, Clara turned to the mic one final time. Her voice carried across the park, steady and calm. We don't rise by waiting to be treated right. We rise by refusing to sit down when we're not. This space, like our stories, was built to outlast ignorance. She stepped back. No hashtags. No callouts. Just legacy. Clara Williams didn't seek revenge. She demanded respect, and reshaped an industry without raising her voice. What happened to her isn't rare. But how she responded. That's what makes this story unforgettable. Because dignity isn't given. It's claimed. Defended. And multiplied when you lift others with you. If this story moved you, leave a comment below. Have you ever been silently judged before you even spoke? Share your truth, because silence has never protected the brave. And if you believe stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs to remember. You do not owe the world quiet when your worth is loud.